didn't learn. So I'm a little envious of you for that reason. But I want to talk about specifically how an AT applies it to business and how I've applied it. So hopefully it's a little bit more real life for you and less textbook. So this is me. My name is Lindsay Langless. I've been an athletic therapist for almost 8 years. On a personal note, I have an almost 2-year-old son. He's a wild child. He's a troublemaker. This is my son. His name is Theander. He keeps me pretty busy. The other day, he rode his fire truck down the stairs and had a big crash. He is fearless and brave, and yeah, keeps me on my toes. I'm a wife to my husband that I met in the AT program, Taboo. He was an athlete. It all worked out in the end. We got married, have a little one. So we've been married. We've been together 9 years, and we've been married for three and a half. So that's me, a mom, wife, business owner, and also a lover of travel. I'm pretty sad that I haven't been able to travel within the last couple of years. This is me getting a nice kiss from a giraffe in Nairobi, Kenya. That was a pretty cool trip. And this is me sandboarding in Huacachina, which is in Peru. So I've been to some pretty cool places. That's a love of mine. And my new passion is I'm currently a crazy plant lady that's trying to grow a whole bunch of plants in my house, and it's slowly turning into a jungle over here. So that's me on a personal note. On a professional note, like I talked about, owner of Competitive Edge Sport Therapy. So at Competitive Edge, we help active adults and athletes who feel like they've tried it all to finally resolve their pain and get back to the life that they love, all without juggling more than one client at a time. So, I know that you guys have learned a bit about target clientele and niching and sort of narrowing that down. So you can read that statement and sort of speculate about who I'm talking to, what I'm saying without coming out and saying it. Those people that have been, juggled. Our clinic is pretty unique because we are a team of only athletic therapists. We're not multidisciplinary. So our phone rings and people are looking for clinical athletic therapy. They're not looking for physio. They're not confused. They've heard that we do something different and amazing, and they call looking for us. So that's pretty cool. And to be in an environment of ATs where we know what everyone else does, there's a huge amount of mutual respect. We're pretty lucky to be able to work in this environment. I'll also share with you guys that our business structure is unique, that our therapists are employees and not contractors. And that will be relevant as I keep talking more about marketing and what types of marketing suit which types of business. So as employees and as a clinic owner that has employees, I take on all of the marketing responsibility myself. So there's a lot of support provided to them, and they're expected to treat their clients and do a good job. So on a marketing front, a lot more on my shoulders and a lot less on their shoulders, because I find not all athletic therapists want to learn how to market, and that's okay. We believe deeply in team and personal growth. So we do things like a 3-month intensive orientation process, extensive mentoring and education on an ongoing basis afterwards. We talk about things that you would never expect to talk about in a workplace. We talk about vulnerability, opening up, being your authentic self, showing your personality, confidence, communication. We do talk about AT skills as well, but I believe the personal stuff will help us grow a lot more than talking about special tests or range of motion or whatever. A side project that I run is AT School. Who has heard of AT School? Give me like a thumbs up if you've heard of AT School. Oh, I hear some flat out no's, so I appreciate the honesty, and some yes. So if you haven't heard of AT School, it is a blog and an Instagram page that I personally run. So if you haven't heard of it, go look it up on Instagram. On Instagram, the handle is Athletic Therapy School, not AT School. So it's a lot of free resources for students and new grads. Our goal is to help athletic therapists thrive in a career that they can love for many years. So my personal mission is to see the average career length of ATs increase. It breaks my heart when I see young ATs with so much potential give up after a year or 3 years or whatever it might be. Absolutely breaks my heart. So my goal is to stop seeing that happen. I want to see ATs know how to succeed in their career and stay ATs for 10, 20, 30 years. I think the only way that to create a reputation for our industry is for there to be more successful ATs out there working and interacting with the public. If we remain a fraction of the size of physio, no one's ever going to hear about us. So we need to get bigger. And in order to get bigger, we need more people to be thriving. So that's what my goal is, what I'm trying to help with. Yeah, I do blogs, I do videos, just sort of sharing like, advice about navigating the start of your career. My hope is that it will accelerate your career. And yeah, so that's a free resource. Look into it, whether you want to just follow us on Instagram or whether you want to subscribe to the blogs. It's there pretty much for you guys to help you. So look into it. And disclaimer time, I'm not a marketing expert, which again is what makes this a little bit different. I'm an ET, not a marketing expert. I'm a successful business owner, and I have taught myself a great deal about marketing. I've taken numerous courses in marketing and business development. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I've learned through a lot of trial and error and failures. To the point where I now can competently use both paid advertising and organic marketing to successfully market my business and therefore provide clientele for my team of therapists. So as I said, my therapists are employees, so it's my responsibility to bring in as many clients as I possibly can for them. Their job is to do a good job and to hang on to those clients as long as it is appropriate for them. And I do this myself without the use of a marketing agency. So something important to note is that I am self-taught, and it's working successfully right now. You might be asking why. Why would I not hire a marketing agency just to do this for me? And I know that's sort of a go-to with new business owners. They think, yeah, I'm going to hire someone to do the marketing, and I'm going to hire someone to do the website, and I'm going to hire someone to do social media. And we sort of go like outsource crazy. And I do believe in outsourcing for specific skills that you don't have. But I also think that as a clinic owner, you need to be able to talk the talk. And that was one big mistake I made early on, is I had no idea what the marketing agency was doing. I was just blindly paying them a whole bunch of money to market my business. And when it didn't work, I didn't know why it didn't work. I didn't know what type of language to use, what questions to ask, what things to look into. So I find that experience is the best teacher. So I made it a mission of mine to educate myself about that so that I could talk the talk. And I find as a business owner, a clinic owner, you need to have a base level of knowledge about multiple different things. You can't call up your accountant and be so clueless that you don't even know what to ask them to be informed. So you need to have that base level of knowledge, and marketing is the same. And the second reason that I do it myself is that no one will love your business the way that you do. Again, another hard lesson I had to learn. So that marketing agency, they're not going to be as passionate about what you do or as passionate about your clients. So relying on external marketing agency has cost me tens of thousands of dollars with very limited results because they didn't understand my target client. I'm the one that sees them every single day, or at least back then I did. Saw them every single day, talked to them about their life and what was bothering them and what they were thinking and feeling. So I knew them on a really deep, intimate level. The marketing agency didn't know that. They didn't understand my work as a therapist, and they just didn't have the same passion for it. So like I said, therefore the marketing they were doing was ineffective, and I was clueless as to why. So here's me getting into some words of wisdom. This is my clinic. This is the entry and the reception area into our clinic. Looks a little different now with COVID, no fabric. So I'm going to talk about what I've learned about marketing and sales and what I think you need to know starting out. Okay, so I'm going to dive a little deeper into understanding your client. I know you guys have talked a little bit about that, about choosing your target client, but we're just going to dive a little deeper, and I'm hoping that I can make you think about it in a different way that maybe you haven't thought about it before. So the biggest lesson I've learned is if you cater to everyone, you will appeal to no one. So I want you to picture you're walking down a busy street, and there's billboards, and you see like 5 different billboards of different products that are being sold. And you see stores and restaurants, and you see the business logo and signs. And you see signs saying, $9.99 for this thing. And you hear some music playing, and the music stops and an advertisement comes on the radio, and they're advertising something. And a car drives by you, and there's a bumper sticker advertising something. And a person comes at you, they're wearing a t-shirt with a logo. So that's what we go through every single day. We are overwhelmed with marketing all day long. And we learn very early on to tune it out. You don't even notice. Later that day, I'm sure you couldn't tell me the billboards that were there, what businesses they were, what products they were selling. You don't even pay attention. So in order for your marketing to cut through that buzz, you need to speak to the person directly. There needs to be something in them that goes, oh, wait, and they start listening, because that applies specifically to them or specifically to their life or what they're going through. So again, if you speak to everyone, no one will listen. They will tune you out. So don't be afraid to niche. This is something I see with a lot of therapists. They think, well, I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I don't want to, just treat ankle injuries or whatever it might be. But something I want you to keep in mind is that you won't only see this type of client, but it will make your marketing speak to them. So once you get your target client through the door, word of mouth will still flow, regardless of what your niche is. So if you bring in a woman that's in her 40s and she loves what you've done, she will cousin. She will send in her kids. She will send in her aunt and uncle and who it might be. At least you're speaking to them and they're listening. Here we go. Another thing to keep in mind is that people don't come in to see you because they're in pain. And I know that might be a bit of an eye opener. You think, yeah, well, people come in to see me because they have back pain, because they have ankle pain. No, they don't. So you don't want to be marketing pain relief for a couple of reasons. But one big reason is that people can, and they do, put up with pain for years and years without seeking help. So pain isn't the reason why they come looking for you and they come in to see you. They come in to see you when their pain starts to interfere with who they want to be, so their identity. So I'll give you a personal example. Last spring, so almost a year ago, I was having some back pain. Even though I'm a therapist, even though I own a clinic, I ignored it for a bit. It wasn't that bad. I'll do some stretches, it'll go away. One day it got really bad, and my son, who was about a year at that point, was crying. He was upset. He wanted me to pick him up. And I could not bend down to pick him up off the floor. And that was all he wanted. So I sort of knelt down next to him. I put my arms around him, trying to comfort him without picking him up. And he was just crying and screaming, and he was so upset. And he could not understand why I wouldn't pick him up. And I felt like the worst mom ever, because I couldn't even pick up my crying 1-year-old. And later that day, I booked an appointment and went in and got treatment, because my back pain was interfering with my ability to be a good mom. It's the same with other people. If they identify as an athlete, the moment that that pain interferes with them being an athlete, that's when they seek out your help. Or whatever it might be. Maybe they just identify as being a hiker or a runner or whatever their identity is. So your marketing and your sales process needs to allow you to connect with them on a deeper level, both in your marketing, but also when you speak to them in person. So you don't want to be just talking about pain, 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 because that's not the most important thing in their life. The most important thing is, maybe their kid, if they're a mom, maybe their sport, if they're an athlete. That's what you should be talking a lot about. So try to connect with them on that deeper level, and you'll see much more success. Who has heard of Simon Sinek? Give me a thumbs up if you've heard of Simon Sinek. I see some no's. Oh, go on YouTube, look him up. He's amazing. You can just watch some quick videos. He has done a TED Talk. He's written a few books, very influential. But he says, people don't care what you do. They care why you do it. So they don't care specifically that you eliminate pain. They care about the why. They care about the deeper stuff. We are emotional beings. We connect with each other on an emotional level. So in your advertising and in your conversations with clients, you need to start with the why. Start with what drives them. Like, why are they coming in to see you? What is their identity? Start with that deeper stuff and then work more superficial, so to speak. So what does that mean for us and how we market and how we communicate with those clients? We're going to do an activity. This was supposed to pop up one at a time if I had it in slideshow mode, but whatever. So with this list of terms, I want you guys to tell me whether you think this term is something that the client cares about or doesn't care about. So Do you think, I wish I could see all of you guys. I might just toggle back and forth. Do you think they care whether you are a certified athletic therapist? Give me a thumbs up if you think they care about that. Yes, no, or you just don't know. Oh, I love it. It's mixed all across the board. Someone put in the comments, no. I saw Dennis said no, I think. I saw some like, I have no idea and I'm not going to pretend. Awesome. They don't care. They don't care at all. Big hidden secret. They don't care whether they go see a physiotherapist or a chiropractor or a massage therapist or an athletic therapist. They care, can you resolve my pain? Can you help me get back to doing that thing that I love to do? That's the most important thing for them. And how you accomplish it doesn't matter to them. Do you think they care whether you are confident? So thumbs up if you think they care about confidence, thumbs down if they don't. That's an easier one. I see all thumbs up. Yes, they do. I argue that's one of the most important things. And as much as I don't like the phrase fake it till you make it, this is the one time that it applies. You can fake confidence until you feel totally confident. Just don't fake that you know everything when you don't. So yes, they totally care about your confidence. Do you think they care about your treatment techniques? You think they care that you do craniosacral therapy, neurokinetic therapy, joint mobilizations? Yes, no, you're not sure. I see a bunch of no's. Yes, you guys are catching on. That's correct. They don't care. They, again, just care, can it resolve my pain? They care about the outcome more than the how. Do you think they care about your education or your qualifications? So all of the letters that come off the back of your name, your bachelor's of kinesiology or physical education or your CATC or your strength and conditioning or whatever letters follow your name. Yes. No, they don't care. Not sure. And I see some people just not answering. Making you guys think this morning. Again, they don't care. They care, are you, do you have a basic level of competence, of course, that you're not some quack who doesn't know what they're doing. But as long as you have a basic level of knowledge, education, competence, they don't care about specifically in what. They don't care if your bachelor's is in kines or physical education or science or whatever. They just care that you have at least some knowledge, but you can help them with their problem. Do you think they care whether you have experience working with other individuals like them? Yes, they care. No, they don't care. That must be an easy one. I see lots of thumbs up. Good. Yes, they care. And specifically like them, not just that you've helped other people, but specifically have you helped people like them. As therapists, we know that everyone's human. We all have the same body parts. Treatment for different people isn't drastically different, but they think that they're like a different creature than an athlete or a runner or a football player. They think that they're drastically different. We know that they're not. Do you think they care whether you are likable? Yes or no? Yeah, I see lots of thumbs up. Correct. They do care whether you're likable. Yep. There has to be a certain level of rapport. They have to enjoy coming in to see you for treatment. That is important. That's a good motivator for them to want to come back. Do you think they care how many years you have in business? Or how many years you've been treating? Yes, no. Ooh, another mixed one. Some yeses, some nos. Again, they don't care. They only care, do you have a basic level of competence? So this should be a huge confidence boost for you guys. If you're newly certified, don't feel insecure that you have less experience than someone else. They don't care. They just care, do you care about them? Are you likable? Are you confident? And can you help them? So that should be a huge boost for you guys. What else? Do they care whether you are knowledgeable? Yes or no? Yes. They do care whether you're knowledgeable. Again, basic competence. They don't want you spewing technical terms to them. You don't need to show off your huge IQ. They just need to know that you know what you're talking about. And most of that comes back to the confidence. Do they care whether you are trustworthy? Yes, no, Yes. And one thing you might not realize, I know I didn't realize it when I first became an AT, is that you will be dealing with very sensitive information, regardless of whether you want to or not. Maybe someone's injury is from abuse. So they have to feel like they can trust you to tell you that. Maybe they are a woman with pelvic floor issues and they're having, leaking throughout the day. They need to feel comfortable telling you that and talking to you about that. So they need to trust you. Do you think they care whether you've worked with high-level athletes before? Yes or no? I see some no's and some I don't knows. Yeah, they don't care. Again, they think that they are a different breed, especially if they're general public. They think they're a different breed than an athlete. So they care more so, have you worked with people like me, not necessarily a high-profile athlete. That's more important to them. Do they care whether you are a good listener? Yes or no? Yep, absolutely. Again, if they can't open up and talk to you, you'll miss some pretty crucial information. Empathy. Do they care that you are showing empathy? Yes or no? Yeah, across the board, you guys are correct. They care about that. Again, it takes a lot of vulnerability to open up about what they're feeling. And do you think they care about whether they feel understood? Ended on an easy note. Yes, they want to feel understood. Awesome. Okay, hopefully that gets you guys thinking a little bit about what people actually care about and don't care about. Because once you know that and really understand your client on a deep level, you can market to them a little more. Speak directly to them. Okay, so my general advice about understanding your client. Don't use technical terms. I have to train this bad habit out of a lot of therapists, because I know that you're taught to verbalize when you're in school so that your instructors can hear that you know what you're talking about. But that's for your instructor's benefit for the scenario. It's not for your client's benefit. So people don't understand the technical terms and they rarely care. And by speaking at a level that they don't understand, you're making them feel inferior to you. And they're going to leave just feeling like, oh, she thinks I'm dumb, or he thinks I'm dumb. So speak at their level. Don't speak over them. Don't spew your qualifications. Again, people don't care. They just want to know that you're minimally competent, you're confident in your skills, and that you care and you can help them. Let the client get to know you and feel comfortable with you, but more importantly, get to know them. So don't talk about yourself, either on your website or in your advertisement, or even throughout your whole initial assessment. Share a little bit about yourself so that they feel connected to you, they can get to know you, but mostly you should be focused on them. Be direct. Tell people what the next step is, whether it be in your advertising or in your appointments. So that was one big mistake that I made with advertising. I dropped thousands of dollars on a radio ad when we had been around for like 9 months. We didn't have a good lead generating website set up. And the ad didn't tell people what to do next. I just assumed if they heard Competitive Edge on the radio, they'll Google us and they'll pick up the phone and call. People will not make that next step without you specifically telling them what the next step is. So be direct. And that goes for when you're treating too. Say, I can help you with your injury, but you need to book twice a week for the next 3 weeks. Be direct. And ask deep questions about them and how they're feeling and how this is affecting them. Make them feel heard and understood and cared for. So some questions to ask yourself when choosing your target client. So you can read through those real quick. Will they value my work? Are they going to be able to afford my work? Do they have benefits? Are they going to be committed? All those things to think about when you're choosing a target clientele. Often we gravitate towards wanting to work with people who are just like us. So I see a lot of new grads wanting to work with young athletes that are between the ages of 18 and 24. So I'm not saying that you should never have that niche. If you love that niche, go for it. But just some things to think about is, can they afford you? Can they afford $100 twice a week? Maybe, maybe not. Are they going to be committed? Or the moment that they feel a little bit of progress, they're going to say, oh yeah, I'm better, I don't need to go anymore. Are they going to send you referrals? All those things to think about. Do they have a good job with benefits? Maybe, maybe not. So I've seen a lot of businesses fail because they structure their clinic, their business on this young population. And you might connect with them, but they might not be the smartest target client. Again, unless you're over the moon passionate about them, in which case, follow your passion. Another thing I'll talk about is marketing in different stages of business. So not all businesses are the same. So we talk a lot about, we say business owner, we say marketing like it's some big umbrella term, but there's different things you should be doing based on what your business structure is. So being a multi-practitioner clinic owner like I am is very different than being a contractor in someone else's clinic or being a solo practitioner renting a room. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see is using the wrong type of marketing for the wrong stage of business. And that's a mistake that I've made too. So we're going to go through those three: contractor, solo practitioner, and clinic owner. So the types of marketing you should be doing if you're a contractor, which a lot of you will end up becoming a contractor. So remember that you're expected to market and promote yourself. Don't expect the clinic to do it for you. The nature of a contractor is that you are an independent contractor. You're independent. You do it on your own. So go in with the expectation that you are going to have to hustle as a contractor. So when COVID is done, going to events, volunteering, giving out freebies, networking, lots of word of mouth referrals. And your goal should be to help support the brand that you are working for. I know everyone wants to promote themselves, but the brand, the clinic that you're working in, they have a lot more resources, they have a better reputation, they're much more well-known. So it's going to go a lot further if you are playing your part and helping support them and sort of piggybacking on their marketing rather than thinking, oh, I have to do it all myself. So use those resources that are there for you. It's not advisable to spend money on paid advertising because you likely don't have the infrastructure in place to make the most of that. You don't have an amazing lead generating website, which takes years to fine tune, might I add. You probably don't have a big enough budget to bring in enough impressions to make use of a good ad campaign. You likely don't have the expertise yet or an established funnel to bring in and convert leads, which we will talk to. So just be honest about your ability to do this when you're deciding whether to work as a contractor or not. As I've mentioned, my therapists are employees where they don't have to market themselves. So there are opportunities like that available. Yes, contractors are the most common, but if you're like, I don't want to have to market myself, just note that about yourself and maybe gravitate towards a position that isn't requiring that of you. And if you want to be able to promote yourself, awesome. Gravitate towards being a contractor. Solo practitioner is really similar. So by this, I mean you're renting your own space, you have your own business name and brand. A lot of the things are the same, but you can also be doing some social media. Social media works the best for solo practitioners, better than for a clinic, because it can be really warm and personable. So social media is great for solo practitioners. Email marketing, you're now finally an actual business. So people aren't going to feel like it's inappropriate to be marketing through email to them. So you can start doing that a little bit and just working on establishing your own brand, but recognize that your resources may not be limited. Again, you don't have this massive ad spend budget like a big clinic might. As a clinic owner, things get totally different. Things totally flip. So as a contractor and a solo practitioner, you need to be hustling. As a clinic owner, you literally cannot hustle hard enough to bring in enough clients to fill everyone's schedule. Like there's just not enough hours in a day. So instead of that hustle type marketing, there's a bit of, and you're now using paid advertising. Oh, look at that type. You're doing email marketing, so a bit of social media, and your web things like optimization. Need some funnels. We'll talk about that here in a minute. What is a funnel? Is people toward
sorry, folks. I think there's a little bit of a connection issue. Let's give her. I just texted Lindsay just to kind of let her know. Hey, Linz. So you might have to backtrack a little bit. I think everybody kicked off at the same time.
Yeah, no worries. What was the last thing that you guys heard?
It's probably like the last 2 or 3 parts of that slide.
Okay. I will go back. Sorry, just trying to figure out how to share again.
Yeah, bottom right, it says present now.
Okay, here we go. Can you guys see that now?
Not yet. Oh, yeah, it's coming. Yeah,
it's a little slow. I don't know if it's my internet or what.
Yeah, sometimes when the bandwidth kind of gets ran.
Okay, so I'll backtrack a little bit. I was just saying, clinic owner, you need to totally switch your mindset. You can't hustle enough hours in a day. So instead, you need to be doing paid advertising and funnels. Website must be great, that sort of thing. Cool. So let's talk about a funnel. A funnel is the idea of you're drawing people towards yourself slowly, one step at a time, warming them up, getting them comfortable with you, getting them to trust you so that eventually they'll be more likely to buy your product, which is your athletic therapy services. The hard part is optimizing the numbers. So there's this idea of a leaky funnel. So if you think of that funnel coming in, if you've got a bunch of holes in the funnel and you're losing water, at the end of the day, you don't get very much. So it's the same thing with marketing. So let's say 2,000 people see your advertisement on Facebook. And most of the time, when you're not used to advertising, you go, wow, 2,000 people saw my ad. That's amazing. That's actually relatively small. So if you think from that, maybe you have a 1% click-through rate. That's what CTR stands for. So out of those 2,000 people, 20 people click on the link and go to your website. Your website has a 60% bounce rate, meaning that 12 people who went to your website immediately click off and they're like, no, I don't want to look at this, and they disappear. They close the window or whatever. So that means 8 people stay on your website long enough to take a look. Your website conversion rate might be about 3%, meaning that 0.25 people actually take action on your website. So 1 person every 4 months. Maybe your sales process has a 50% conversion rate. So 1 person every 8 months converts into a patient. And then from there, maybe you have a 10% profit ratio. If your appointments cost $100, you end up with $10 profit from that 1 appointment in an 8-month time span. So that's sort of how marketing goes, is it's all about optimizing the numbers. So when you look at this, you either need to start out with more impressions, you need to spend more money on more advertising, which is a risk if you're not getting that return on investment yet. So you either need more eyeballs looking at your ad, or you need to improve all of these numbers. You need to improve your click-through rate, you need to decrease your bounce rate, you need to improve your conversions, and slowly you tighten up that leaky funnel so you end up with more patients. So lead generation and lead conversion, aka marketing, is hard. So just don't underestimate it. And it doesn't stop there. You don't stop marketing once they come into your business. That funnel continues with something called patient visit average. How many times do they come in? Or do they see you once, decide you're not very good, and never come back? And so there's reactivation emails, retargeting ads, that sort of thing that continue to encourage them to stay a customer, so to speak. So one of the things that Dennis asked me to talk about was how I market my business. So here's what I do. I gave a little picture of my most recent content marketing strategy. So what I do is I use a paid Facebook ad targeted for my ideal client, very specifically targeted. I do a paid Facebook ad for retargeting previous clients and website visitors. I have a paid Google ad. We do lots of networking with other practitioners. Before COVID, we went to lots of events, lots of races, runs, that sort of thing. We do email marketing and content marketing, so blogs and videos that I create. We have automated email campaigns that go out, many automated email campaigns. Our website is huge. And as I've mentioned, your website needs to be pristine, and that takes a lot of fine tuning. We do SEO, search engine optimization, to make sure that people are finding us online when they search for us. Of course, word of mouth. And then we do some social media with organic posts and stories. One of my pet peeves as a clinic owner is when I say marketing, people think social media. And social media is good. I'm not knocking it. Like I said, it's great, especially for solo practitioners. But in my business, social media brings in, I can count on one hand the amount of clients we've gotten from social media. But when we talk about paid advertising, we get hundreds of new clients per year off of our paid advertising. So for me, if I had to rank in level of importance, the paid stuff is way more important to me than the organic social media stuff, just because I'm watching that result. Okay, wrapping up here, the take-home message: don't underestimate the beast. Again, marketing is hard. It's so easy to go like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can make a target clientele and jump right in. And you can, but it's going to take a lot of years to learn about marketing, fine tune your target population, fine tune your messaging, your image, all those things. So it takes a lot of time. So just don't underestimate it. Go in with the right expectations that it's going to take some work. And be realistic about whether you want to put in that work and whether you need that skill. So maybe you'd rather work as an employee at someone else's clinic where they do the marketing for you, and that's okay if you choose that. Or maybe you'd rather do that self-promotion stuff. So being a contractor or self-employed where you're doing that more hustle type marketing, you're promoting and networking and that sort of thing. Maybe you'd rather do that than the funnel type marketing that I talked about. So maybe you'd prefer to do that, or maybe what I just talked about, you're like, that sounds amazing, that intrigues me, I would love to learn how to market like that. Awesome. Just be honest about what interests you and what level of difficulty you are prepared to master. Use your innate skills to your advantage. So you understand your clients way better than any marketing agency ever could. So use that to your advantage. Make your marketing warm and personable in any way that you can. Choose the right type of marketing for you. Don't make my mistake, and don't waste your time or money unnecessarily. Like I said, those thousands of dollars that I wasted on that radio ad. I got more feedback from other ATs that had heard that radio ad than I did from actual clients calling. The solution is almost always more or better targeting. So niche. If things aren't working for you, niche down even more. And be prepared to work hard. No matter which approach you choose, it will take a lot of practice and tweaking. Sometimes even just changing one word is all it takes. And you only discover that by trial and error and perseverance. So just keep testing, keep experimenting, and keep getting better with whatever avenue you decide to take. And that's all I got for you guys. Happy to answer some questions.
When you say organic marketing, do you just mean it's not like you're not paying for it?
Yeah, correct. You post something on social media and you didn't pay a cent for it. Things like mostly Facebook, but Instagram now too. They're a business. They want you to spend money with them. So if you pay, they'll show your post to way more people. Whereas if you don't pay, maybe only 10, 20, 30 people will actually see that post. So they sort of put you at a disadvantage. It doesn't mean that it won't work, but you just have to be, again, really like targeted about who you're speaking to, really like cultivate a good, strong network. So it works. It's just hard. Who else has some questions?
We'll open the floor. Yeah, if you want to take your mic off or just write it in the chat, feel free.
Hopefully I didn't terrify you guys.
And I know you chatted a lot about kind of the stuff that you had to overcome and the challenges you faced, but what would you say your biggest challenge or hurdle was to owning a business at 24 and especially something you probably didn't expect at that age?
Ooh, there was a lot. What was the biggest one? A big part of it for me was my mindset. When I first opened the clinic, I was young and so naive. So I had this idea that I was going to open the clinic, hire a bunch of contractors. They would all market themselves, and they would market themselves well, and they would take care of their clientele, and I would treat my clientele, and we'd be this happy, healthy family. And slowly I learned that, no offense at all, ATs aren't that good at promoting themselves. So I learned that I needed more from me, and more and more and more and more. And it was honestly a process of like 4 or 5 years of giving more education, more mentoring, more, where it finally got to a point of like, okay, they're not contractors anymore, they're employees. So I had to change my mindset about what I should be spending my time on. I drastically cut back my hours so that I could spend time mentoring my staff, doing business development. So getting that mindset shift was really tough because I think you guys lost me again.
Yeah, just sporadically, but I think did you guys get the gist of Lindsay's response?
Yeah, I think just the last couple words cut out, but I got most of it. Thanks.
You missed the "aw shoot" that I said.
I find it's a combination, like with new grads, I find it's a combination of lack of confidence and I think also just being humble. I think that's just the nature. And I don't really see a lot of cocky people come out of this program, to be quite honest. It's a little bit different when you see residents. I mean, when we were over at Shoal, I see some medical residents, first year med school, by the way. I don't want to use the word ego, but they have this confidence about them just because they wear this head of a medical school. Quite honestly, their skill set being a first year medical resident didn't compare to our fourth year ATs at the time. But the difference in how they carry themselves was eye-opening. So,
yeah, absolutely.
And it's just for everyone. Just know that you're going to have more knowledge than your patient, which is like a lot more knowledge than your patient. The word on the street is, obviously this is a huge generalization, the knowledge and skills AP students come out with when they graduate out of an AP school based on like on MSK stuff, I think is a little bit more compared to a PP student when they graduate. At least that's what I've heard. So just know that you're not behind. I mean, you're actually a little bit ahead of other first or newly graduated practitioners, whether it be physio, massage, or other, especially in MSK and other.
Yeah, I find that new grads tend to think that the client is comparing them to like their mentor, their supervisor, who has 10 years, 20 years of experience. But the client isn't comparing you to them because they likely haven't experienced that before. They're comparing you to the massage therapist they saw that just rubbed their back for 45 minutes. They're comparing you to the physio that just put TENS on them and then left them to do some exercises. So the bar is much lower than you think it is. So they're going to think they're very knowledgeable. So just go in with that confidence.
Specific questions about marketing?
Less so about marketing, but what is your, I guess, advice on, so when you're going through the hard times or you're having trouble like getting off the ground, how are you staying afloat? Like, were you finding that you needed to have other jobs? Were you still kind of just going down that ET route? Like, how do you find that balance when it's not quite clicking yet?
Yes, that's a tough one. I find a lot of ATs do that where they juggle a couple jobs. And I find if you split your energy, you can't give your energy 100% to both. So the more you split yourself, if you have 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, 5 jobs, you will yourself down and you're not at your best for every single job that you're at. Yes, sometimes it's a necessity if you have bills to pay and you need a side job just to make a little money. That's totally fine, but I would recommend it be something that's not going to drain your energy. So work at Starbucks where it can be fun and not a lot of brain power in order to do it, so to speak. It's really hard to go from one draining job to another draining job and be at your best. So the more you can commit your full energy to what you're doing, the faster you're going to grow. So I knew that from a relatively young age. And when I opened the clinic, I was 100% into the business. I just learned to live within my means. I didn't spend money unnecessarily. I got by with an old rust bucket car for a lot of years, lived in a small little basement suite, and I just lived within my means so that I could dedicate all of my time, all of my energy to my business. And the big thing was perseverance, knowing that it was going to pay off. It took 6 years to pay off, but that perseverance to go in with that mindset. So when I interview therapists, I ask about their support system. So do you have a spouse that can help you financially in the meantime? Do you have parents that are willing to chip in? Not just financial support, but also emotional support, because you're going to have rough days where you feel defeated. Do you have someone you can go and talk to about that? So that support network is really important, but also the drive to want to do anything you can possibly do to make this career work for yourself. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. And then I don't know if anyone else has any other questions. I just have a more specific marketing question too. So I know you talked about if you're wanting a niche and kind of explain to them that you have experience working with that type of clientele. What do you do if you don't, but that is the niche that you're wanting to work with? Like, would you, I guess, more target or like explain your passion for that activity or that type of client? Like, how are you getting around that if you don't have the experience yet?
You do. You have the experience. So call, and it might not be this exact type person, but call on an experience that's similar. So maybe it wasn't a runner, it was skier with a knee injury that you worked with as a student. It's still similar enough. Call upon that experience, tell them about that, and tell them about the success that you had with that person, and make it applicable to the situation that you're in. So you have a lot more experience than you think you do. And I would also recommend, if you're working as a contractor in a bigger clinic, call on the experience of your clinic. You can say, as a clinic, we've worked with hundreds of people with knee pain just like this. We've had a lot of success doing X, Y, and Z. So that sort of like boisters your resume a little bit, because maybe if you didn't specifically work with them, someone that can help you work with an injury just like that. So yeah, don't underestimate yourself. You do have the experience.
Hey, Lindsay, I just want to just check in. It's about 9:27. I know we said 8:30 to 9:15. If you need to go, just let us know. If you want to take on a few more questions, just let us know. Either way, I can give them your contact information or reach out if they do have any questions. But I can your schedule.
Yeah. My next meeting isn't for another 30 or 40 minutes, so I'm happy to stay a little bit longer. But yes, everyone, first of all, please go on Instagram and follow AT School. That's where I put everything I can think of that's going to help you guys. So follow AT School, Athletic Therapy School on Instagram. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me. You can message me on Facebook. Lindsay Langless is my full name. You can find me on Facebook. I'm not very well hidden. So if a question comes up like a month from now, please feel free to message me. Back when I was a student, there wasn't a lot of people making that offer to help and to mentor and to assist. And I think people are much more willing to do it these days. So please use me as a resource.
Hey, Lindsay, are you still working with Ed?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
But I was for all of 2020.
Okay. So the students know Ed. You guys know Ed Paget, right? Like, you guys remember Ed?
Mm-hmm.
So can I share this with them? Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Lindsay and I took the PDTR course, and we took a couple of the courses together. Ed was in the class, and then I think it was one lunchtime. We all just sat around, and Ed was just on the blackboard talking about like Facebook ads and marketing and pricing and all these different things, with Ed being a clinic owner for such a long time. And so when I was talking to him, I think at the beginning of the year, I told him I was teaching in the marketing for the business class, and he was going to come talk and share and whatever. He was giving me advice and so on and so forth. And then he mentioned that he was working with other clinic owners to kind of share his expertise with how Lindsay, English Osteopath Clinic, was successful. And he mentioned that he was working with Lindsay. He was working with 3 other clinics that I don't know about. And then my wife was listening to the conversation. So my wife hired Ed to help with her business running a resort. But similarly, Facebook ads and whole like marketing strategy and so on. So So anyways, it's almost like a gift that keeps on giving. And so Lindsay is offering her advice from what she's learned from Ed and through experience to you folks as well. So please take advantage. Again, if you have any questions, now's a good time. I got some, but I don't want to steal your questions. So.
Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes I made when I was young was I thought I had to do it all on my own. I thought that someone else's expertise didn't transfer over because they were a physio clinic owner, not an AT clinic owner. I thought we were totally different. No, there's so much carryover. So I wish I would have reached out a little bit more and applied their expertise more so to me. So.
Questions from anybody? Okay. Well, I'll kind of ask a couple, and then if I just prime people to ask other questions, then by all means. COVID related. So when the clinics were shut down, what were you doing? Like were you still doing things for competitive edge in COVID?
Yeah. That's the part about being a business owner, is it never stops. You're working when other people aren't working. Yeah, sure, you might get a rest day when the clinic is running, but there's more days when you're working when they're not working, as opposed to the opposite way around. So the first time we closed in the spring, we were closed for 3 months. And I will admit, I launched into like a panic. I was like, I've never had to close my entire career. Like, this is terrifying. What am I going to do to bring in money? And I went into like overdrive, and I started researching different avenues of income. I filmed an entire course that will eventually be for sale on my website. So I was filming courses, I was improving my website, I was learning about marketing, like you name it. There were so many behind the scenes things that I was doing the whole 3 months. And then we also got closed a second time, and from December to January, about 5 weeks. And this time I didn't panic quite as much. I kind of went, okay, I've been here before, just breathe. And the second time around, I actually took some time for myself, which was really, really needed for work-life balance and mental health. So I took about 2 weeks off around Christmas, which might not sound like a lot, but 2 weeks of not even thinking about my business is something I've never done my entire career. Like, reformed workaholic over here. So I took a break, and then on the other weeks, I was still working, but at a more leisurely pace. So same thing, I was really working on marketing, advertising, learning as much as I could, setting up our YouTube account, and yeah, you name it, anything that was business building activities. And staff engagement, might I add. It's a hard time for a lot of people, so there was a lot of a leadership aspect for me to try to provide support for my team as well and make sure that they're doing okay. We had lots of meetings, lots of fun, like virtual game, team buildings, that sort of thing that was on my shoulders as well to make sure that I was looking after them and that they were doing okay.
Other questions? Okay, I'll go again. Just from a more practical standpoint, when we were talking about marketing through Facebook ads and so on and so forth, how much do Google ads and Facebook ads cost? Like, what's that? Like, how do you price those out?
Yeah, so it's really any budget. You can spend anywhere from $10 on an ad, which again, it isn't going to get you results. You have to spend enough money that enough people are going to see it, enough people are going to click on it. So limiting your budget isn't always a great thing. We spend, goodness, probably like $700 a month on paid advertising, which is the smallest budget I would recommend. We're starting small because this is new to me. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm still tweaking things and adjusting and seeing the results and then making changes so that I can get a better result. So it's sort of like if you do much less than that, you're not going to get a huge result. But of course, you can, like, the sky's the limit. You can spend thousands of dollars a month on advertising and just get more leads and hopefully optimize that funnel. So yeah, it's pretty variable.
And they also mentioned like CTR, bounce rate, conversion rate, and some of these terms. You did mention how to increase click-through rate and how to decrease your bounce rate. Like, any tips on how to do those two things?
Again, the solution is always more targeting. If people are leaving your website right away, it's because they look at it and they go, this isn't for me. I'm not in the right spot. But if they look at it and go, oh, hey, I immediately see a word that pops out that applies to me. It hits me right in my heart, so to speak, like it speaks to my identity as a human being. They're going to pause long enough to look and maybe listen and click something. So if you can make it more specific, more compelling, speak directly to what they're struggling with, what they're thinking, what their fears are, kind of show that you know them as a human being. That's really like, I don't know, it stops people in their tracks when they're like, wow, this person understands me, and they stop long enough to read and listen and do something on your website.
Okay, cool. Any other folks have questions? So yeah, just to let you know, right after this, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll get into, like, there's a short PowerPoint that I'll kind of go through, kind of repeat some of the things that Lindsay talked about. And we'll talk about, we'll go back to last week and talk about some of the things we talked about last week as well. And then you'll have the rest of the class to tweak and refine some of the things you've submitted in the past based on the last two presentations. Yeah, so that's kind of the plan. Aside from that, I mean, we can put together a list of questions for you, Lindsay, if people come up with questions as they go through their projects. But last call for questions before we take a break. Okay. Well, we'll take a quick break. Once again, thank you, Lindsay, for joining us and sharing your experiences. Congratulations on the clinic. It's pretty successful. I would say, like, every time I Google athletic therapy, you're one of the first things that pop up on the top of the search page. So I don't know how you do that, but I'm sure search engine SEOs have something to do with that, and we'll talk about SEOs with the class a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really enjoyed this. I don't get much of a chance to talk business that often, so this was really fun for me. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Okay, we'll chat soon.
Okay, bye.
Okay, see you, Lindsay.